So hello and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. So Google just announced their Google Spam update for it's the August 2025 spam update. Now, as always, Google doesn't really tell us what they're going to change with the spam update, and also if there are going to be major changes or if there's just going to be subtle changes to the algorithm. But I know a few things about the spam update. I've got some insider news as well as the fact that I've been seeing some movement on my test websites, which gives me reason to believe, which gives me an educated guess as to what's going on with the algorithm update and what you should do if you see some downward movement with the Google Spam update. So before I go into the video, just want to explain this real quick to everyone that runs a website or if you're doing your SEO, make sure that before you make any changes to your website, so if you're ranking number 1, 2, and 3, you're within what's all the margin of error. So number 3, if you're number 3, getting to number 1 is very, very hard because it could be like very small things that have changed. But if you see that the spam update has hit your site so hard that from 3 you've gone to 6 or 7 or 8, then you have a problem. Or even if you go on to page number 2 during the spam update. So there are a few things that you can do, and that's what we're going to explain in this video. But if you do not see any changes to your position, so you don't lose position, you don't necessarily gain position, then there's nothing really for you to do. And I would strongly advise that whatever changes you make to the website, you make it to after the Google Spam update finishes rolling out, and usually Google will announce that. So let's get into what you should do if you see a downward movement in your position during the Google Spam update. Okay. So thing number 1 is to reduce pages that are not being indexed. So I tell my clients, you can have 5,000 pages, but if 1,000 pages are not being indexed by Google, you need to find out why those pages are not being indexed and get those pages indexed or remove those pages because at the end of the day, that adds to your spam score. It is particularly important this year because with the Google Spam update, I'm being told with this particular update, Google is lowering the number of pages on a website that are not indexed to consider it spammy. So let's say in the past, if we had 1,000 pages on a 5,000 page website that were not indexed, Google will not see you spammy. But now they've lowered that to 1,000 pages. So if you've got a 5,000 page website, you got 1,000 pages that are not indexed, then Google will see your website as being spammy. You'll get a specific spam score, which is, something for a totally different video. And so what you would want to do is you're going to make sure that those pages are indexed. Also, speaking of spam scores, you don't really know what your spam score is. So in a way, you're working blind, which is why I would say, tick that box and make sure that your pages are indexed or, Google can't see those pages. So you do not want a lot of these hanging around on your website, especially around the time of the spam update, because now if Google lowers your score, you will lose your rankings, which is why I said, like, if you see your rankings drop, then make these changes. If not, then you probably don't need to make these changes, right? So the second thing you would want to do, and this is something you want to do anyways, and that is to recalibrate your website's SEO. Okay, what that means is that make sure that you're not covering a topic twice. Okay, so there's no duplicate content, and duplicate content does not mean that you have the same content on your website twice, or it's not passing copy skate. It literally means that you have the same type of content. So you have 2 reviews, for instance, for the iPhone 12, or 2 reviews for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So if you've got 2 reviews, even if there's not two totally different people, those 2 reviews will compete against each other. So either one of those reviews, I'm being told by my insiders, that will be marked as being spam. Okay. So unless your website identifies as a forum, or unless it identifies as a governmental entity, having those 2 reviews on your site is going to be detrimental. So you'd want to pick the one that gets the most traffic, gets the most clicks, gets the most engagement, and remove the one that does not if you have instances of these duplications. Now, it's easier said than done. If you have a website that's 1,000 pages, that's easier. But if you got a website that's got 50,000 pages and it's a lot harder, it's also a lot harder if you've got people that can just log in and contribute to the website, like a lot like Medium. But then again, like how Medium is classified totally depends on, whether or not they will get dinged by this. So the third thing you want to do is make sure that your older content is updated, especially during the August 2025 Google Spam Update. Google is now turning a dial on freshness. So if your content is 4 years old uh, and it's outdated, Google does not want it to rank anymore. So if it was getting a lot of traffic at some point, it will not get traffic during this update. So if you see like an article or maybe a page that you updated many years ago, but you were not touching it because it was doing well. So, why would you try to change something that's doing well? So if you see that that page starts to go down, it means that Google sees that page as not being fresh, hence it's not relevant. Things might have changed for that page in terms of, what's on that page is outdated. So you might want to just update the page. And usually 9 out of 10 times, if you update the page and make it click and update it with the most relevant information and up-to-date information, that page will re-rank during the spam update. All right. And so you want to do it because if you do it after the spam update, the chances of you re-ranking that website or that page is gonna be a little harder. So just make sure that you're doing it ASAP. The final thing, and this applies to mainly e-commerce stores, is make sure that you're selling your merch with your brand mention. Okay. So if you're a reseller, you'll make sure that you make it clear on your website that you're a reseller. If you have your own unique brand and your own unique products, make sure that the product pictures have your logo on it and that you have a copyright for those images and also that your business is trademarked and registered because Google is going really hard on this. You'd also want to make sure as an e-commerce store that you don't have one product multiple times on your website. So if there are color variations, make sure that the variation is clarified in the schema code. Also make sure that you've got your description nailed down correctly. You don't have the same description for each product. Again, if you had that, that's going to be seen as spammy. You're going to be dinged for that. Also, these are changes that you should be making during the spam update, not after it, because it's not going to be as effective. So if you see that your product listing is kind of not showing up or it has reduced visibility or the pages that used to rank for that product are not ranking anymore during a spam update, make these changes to it and you should see it go back up within the next 48 hours. So I hope you guys found the video useful. Like and subscribe as always. Leave a comment below. Let me know if your website was hit by the latest August 2025 spam update. And I will see you guys in the next video. Happy ranking.